The term Shambhala Buddhism was introduced by Sakyong Mipham in the year 2000 to describe his presentation of the Shambhala teachings, originally conceived by Chögyam Trungpa as secular practices for achieving enlightened society. In concert with the Kagyu and Nyingma schools of Tibetan Buddhism, the Shambhala Buddhist sangha considers Sakyong Mipham to be its head and the second in a lineage of Sakyongs, with his father Chögyam Trungpa being the first. Distinguishing characteristics. Shambhala Buddhism partly derives from the teachings of Shambhala as originally proclaimed by Chögyam Trungpa, which state that there is a natural source of radiance and brilliance in the world, which is the innate wakefulness of human beings. This is the basis, in myth and inspiration, of the kingdom of Shambhala, an enlightened society of fearlessness, dignity and compassion. Furthermore, Shambhala vision applies to people of any faith, not just people who believe in Buddhism. The Shambhala vision does not distinguish a Buddhist from a Catholic, a Protestant, a Jew, a Muslim, a Hindu. That's why we call it the Shambhala kingdom. A kingdom should have lots of spiritual disciplines in it. The Shambhala Buddhist Sangha expresses this vision largely within Tibetan Buddhist concepts, terms, and practices, continuing its ties to contemporary Kagyu and Nyingma lineage holders, among them the Karmapa, Pena and Poche, and other important lamas. Many prominent lamas come and offer teachings to the community on a regular basis. However, certain aspects of Shambhala Buddhism, known as Shambhalian practices, are unique to the Sangha. Shambhala and Shambhala training. In 1976, Trungpa and Poche began giving teachings, some of which were gathered and presented as Shambhala training, inspired by his vision of the legendary kingdom of Shambhala. Shambhalian practices focus on using mindfulness, awareness meditation as a means of connecting with one's basic sanity and using that insight as inspiration for one's encounter with the world. The Shambhala of Chögyam Trungpa is essentially a secular approach to meditation, with roots in Buddhism as well as in other traditions, but accessible to individuals of any or no religion. The greater social vision of Shambhala is that it is possible, moment by moment, for individuals to establish enlightened society. Trungpa's book Shambhala, The Sacred Path of the Warrior, provides a concise collection of the Shambhala views. Shambhala training is administered worldwide by Shambhala International. Shambhala training is presented in a series of weekend programs, the first 5 of which are called The Heart of Warriorship, and the subsequent 7, The Sacred Path. The Warrior Assembly is the fruition of the Shambhala Training Sacred Path program. During Warrior Assembly, students study the Shambhala Dharma text, the Golden Sun of the Great East, and receive the Ashe practices of stroke and lungtha. Shambhala within Shambhala Buddhism. After the year 2000, with the merging of the secular teachings of Shambhala and the Buddhist teachings of Vajradhatu into Shambhala Buddhism, completion of Shambhala Vajrayana Seminary became a condition for receiving the highest Shambhala teachings, such as those of Worma and the Scorpion Seal Retreat. In turn, Warrior Assembly became a prerequisite for attending the Vajrayana Seminary. The Shambhala Seminary is a 2-part seminary designed to deepen students' practice and understanding of the Buddhist and Shambhala teachings and to enter them into the Vajrayana practices of the Shambhala Buddhist Mandala. Part 1, Sutrayana Seminary, is led by Shambhala Acharya and provides in-depth training and study of the Hinayana, Mahayana, and Shambhala teachings. Part 2, Vajrayana Seminary, is led by Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche and authorizes students to begin the Shambhala Nondro, the preliminary practices for receiving the Rigden Abhisheka. The Rigden Abhisheka enters the student into the practice of the Worma Sadhana. It is open to graduates of Shambhala Vajrayana Seminary who have completed the Shambhala Nondro and to students who have already received the Worma Sadhana and completed the Kagyu Nondro. Shambhala Terma. Certain Shambhala practices derive from specific Terma texts of Trungpa Rinpoche, such as Letter of the Black Ash, Letter of the Golden Key that fulfills desire, Golden Sun of the Great East, and the Scorpion Seal of the Golden Sun, in long and short versions. Trungpa Rinpoche is believed by his students to have received these teachings directly from Gesar of Ling, an emanation of Padmasambhava, and the Rigden Kings. The Terma stated was confirmed by the Nyingma master Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. The Shambhala Dharma practices derived entirely or in part from these texts include those of Worma, Drala, Wind Horse, and meditations on 4 dignities of Shambhala: Tiger, Lion, Garuda, and Dragon. Chögyam Mipham Gyatso, a great 19th-century Nyingma Lama and a predecessor of Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche, wrote about many of these practices and concepts as well. Some, such as the stroke of Ashe, have no known precedents. The Kalachakra, the Rigden Kings, and Gesar of Ling. The Kalachakra tradition is central to Shambhala Buddhism. Trungpa Rinpoche requested that the Kagyu Kalachakra master Kalu Rinpoche perform the initiation for his Vajrayana students, which he did in 1986 in Boulder, Colorado. The Rigden Kings of Shambhala are central figures to the community, and of Thangka of the Rigden King is the centerpiece of all public Shambhala Buddhist shrines. Gesar of Ling, a mythical Tibetan king, is also an important figure to Shambhala Buddhists, to whom he represents enlightened wisdom manifesting in the world as a leader. Many of the teachings of the Shambhala lineage derive from the epic of Gesar as propagated by Mipham the Great. Zen influence. Trungpa Rinpoche was deeply influenced by his friend Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, a Japanese Zen master who was one of the first accomplished teachers to present Dharma to Westerners. As a result of this influence, certain attributes of form in Shambhala Buddhism are derived from Zen, rather than Tibetan Buddhism. The shrine rooms in Shambhala Buddhism, reflecting the Zen aesthetic of Kanzo, tend to be sparsely furnished and decorated, whereas traditional Tibetan Buddhist shrine rooms are elaborate, ornate, and colorful. As in Zen, but unlike Tibetan Buddhist practice, meditators engage in group practices of shamatha vipassana. In addition, Shambhala Buddhists have adopted the practices of Kyudo, Ikebana, tea ceremony, or yoki, calligraphy, and other traditional Japanese arts as a means of extending the mind of calm abiding and awareness to more active practices. Elements of Bon, Taoism, and Confucianism. To a lesser extent, Trungpa Rinpoche incorporated other elements into Shambhala tradition that he thought would be beneficial to practitioners. For the Bon religion, the lasting ceremony is performed. Other elements of shamanism play a role. From Confucianism comes a framework of heaven-earth, a man for understanding the proper relationship between different elements of compositions of all kinds. From Taoism comes the use of feng shui and other incorporations. Doryu Kasung. The Doryu Kasung is a group that was formed by Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche to support the transmission of the Shambhala teachings by helping create an appropriate environment for them to be taught in. The Doryu Kasung accomplished this by providing a gentle and uplifted presence at teaching events, providing security services, providing driving and personal assistance to the teachers, and working with any issues of conflict to health that may arise in the community. The training and model of the Doryu Kasung is based on military forms, such as hierarchy, uniforms, and drills. The purpose of utilizing the military format is not to propagate war, but to take advantage of the discipline and energy of military forms to embody and communicate compassion. The practice of Doryu Kasungship is founded on the Mahayana Buddhist principle of compassionate action, and inspired by the Vajrayana Buddhist emphasis on working directly with the energy of neurosis and transforming it into wisdom. Thus, through engaging directly with military forms, they aspire to fulfill the vision expressed in their motto, Victory over War. Meiti and Mudra. Meiti is a therapeutic program that works with different styles of neurosis using principles of the 5 Buddha families. Mudra practice, first explored by the Mudra Theatre Group, is based on traditional Tibetan monastic dance training and the teachings on Mahamudra. Shambhala art. Shambhala art can be seen as a process, a product, and an art education program. As a process, it brings wakefulness and awareness to the creative and viewing processes through the integration of contemplation and meditation. As a product, it is art that wakes us up. Shambhala art is also an international non-profit art education program based on the Dharma art teachings of Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche, the founder of Shambhala. Its purpose is to explore, for the viewpoint of a meditative discipline, the creative process and the product called art. Traditional Buddhist practices. Shambhala Buddhism holds various meditation techniques of traditional Tibetan Buddhist lineages, including Shamatha, Vibhacharana, Zazen, Madhyamaka, Mahamudra and Dzogchen, Tonglen, Lojong, Luzhong. Traditional Yidam practices such as Vajrayogini, Chakrazamvara, Vajrakala, Shambhala, Gazatara, Manjushri, and Vajrasattva. History. The term Shambhala Buddhism, as used to describe the lineage and community led by Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche, came into use around 2000. In 1970, the Shambhala community had its origins with the arrival of the 11th Trungpa Tulku Trungpa Rinpoche in North America. The first established center of his teachings was Tail of the Tiger in Barnett, Vermont. In 1971, a second branch of the community began to form when Rinpoche began teaching at the University of Colorado. The Rocky Mountain Dharma Center was established, now known as Shambhala Mountain Center, near Fort Collins, Colorado. In the early 1970s, the community grew rapidly and attracted the involvement of such notables as Allen Ginsberg, Anne Wildman, and many others. In 1973, the Shambhala community was incorporated in Colorado as Vajradhatu. Vajradhatu hosted visits by the 16th Karmapa in 1974, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche in 1976, and the 14th Dalai Lama in 1981. In 1974, Naropa Institute was founded, a contemplative studies and liberal arts college, now fully accredited as Naropa University. In 1975, Shambhala Lodge was founded, a group of students dedicated to fostering an enlightened society. In 1976, Trungpa Rinpoche began his cycle of Shambhala teachings and, with his students, manifesting forms of Shambhala society. Kalapa Court was established in Boulder, Colorado, as Trungpa Rinpoche's residence and a cultural center for the Vajradhatu community. Thomas F. Rich was empowered as Vajra Regent Ozal Tenzin and lineage holder in the Karma Kagyu and Nyingma lineages. In 1977, Shambhala training was founded to promote a secular approach to meditation practice and an appreciation of basic human goodness. The Gyalwa Karmapa, the head of the Kagyu lineage, confirmed the Vajra Regent's appointment as a lineage holder. Ozal Tenzin was the first Western student to hold such a position in the Kagyu lineage. In 1978, Trungpa Rinpoche conducted the first annual Kalapa Assembly, an intensive training program for advanced Shambhala teachings and practices. In 1979, Trungpa Rinpoche empowered his eldest son, Ozal Rangdrol Mukpo, as his successor and heir to the Shambhala lineage. In 1986, Trungpa moved the international headquarters of Vajradhatu to Halifax, Nova Scotia, where he died the following year. A large number of his disciples emigrated from the United States to Nova Scotia along with him. In 1987, after Trungpa's death, Tenzin's role as spiritual head of Vajradhatu lasted until around 1989. Citing an AIDS-related infection, allegations arose that Tenzin had passed HIV to a male partner in the Colorado congregation. Tenzin apologized for believing he and others were protected from AIDS. After the death of Ozal Tenzin in 1990, Ozal Rangdrol Mukpo became spiritual head of what would become Shambhala International. In 1995, Ozal Rangdrol Mukpo was recognized by Pena Rinpoche as the reincarnation of Chögyam Mipham and enthroned as Sakyong. The Sakyong, literally Earth Protector, is a Chögyam Dharma king who holds and propagates the teachings of Shambhala. In 2000, at the Kalapa Assembly, Sakyong Mipham made a proclamation that started the process of enclosing the previously secular teachings of Shambhala within the container of a new Buddhist lineage, Shambhala Buddhism. In 2001, on a visit to Tibet, Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche met the 12th Trungpa Tulku's Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche, an incarnation discovered by Tai Situ Rinpoche in 1991. In August 2007, the Sakyong married Kandro Siang Palmo with the ceremony conducted by Drupawang Pena Rinpoche during the Kalapa Festival in Halifax. Kandro Siang Palmo is currently the Sakyong Wangmo, a title held previously by Lady Diana Mukpo, now the Druk Sakyong Wangmo. The Shambhala Buddhist community today. Today, there are over 200 Shambhala meditation centers, groups and residential retreat centers around the world, mostly in the United States, Canada, Europe and South America, the largest communities being Halifax, Nova Scotia, Boulder, Colorado, Northern Vermont, and New York City. Shambhala-inspired schools. Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. The Shambhala School in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Alea Preschool in Boulder, Colorado. September School in Boulder, Colorado. Shambhala International, the umbrella organization that encompasses many of the distinct institutions of Shambhala Buddhism, is called Shambhala International. Shambhala International, which is based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, links a worldwide mandala of urban Buddhist meditation centers, retreat centers, monasteries, a university, and other ventures, founded by the Tibetan Buddhist teacher the Trungpa Rinpoche under the name Vajradhatu. Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche is the present spiritual and executive head of the organization, which he renamed and reorganized in 1990. Spiritual teachers Druk Sakyong Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche, Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche, Kenshin Throng U Rinpoche, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, 16 Gyalwa Karmapa, Shunyu Suzuki Roshi, Vajra Regent Ozal Tenzin. The Shambhala Buddhist Sangha is rich with teaching faculty, supporting individual study and practice with mentorship guidance, personal meditation instruction, junior and senior teachers, and a resource of empowered Western spiritual teachers who support and guide the Shambhala Sangha, including Acharya Pema Chodron, Ashacharya John Rockwell, Kalapa Acharya Adam Alobal, Acharya Judith Simmer Brown, Acharya Doryal Opon Lodro Dorya, Acharya Dale Asrael, Acharya Christy Cashman, Acharya Emily Barr, Acharya Mitchell Levy, Acharya Jeremy Hayward, Acharya Arawana Hayashi, Acharya Galen Ferguson, Acharya Eric Spiegel, Acharya Larry Mermelstein, Acharya Daniel Hersey, Acharya Moh Harden. Land centers. The Shambhala land centers are retreat centers, generally located in more rural settings around the world. Gampo Abbey in Pleasant Bay, Nova Scotia, Canada. Doryuden Maling in Tatamagouche, Nova Scotia, Canada. Shambhala Mountain Center in Red Feather Lakes, Colorado. Sky Lake Lodge in Rosendale, New York. Deccan Coaling in Marmont, France. Kami Coaling in Barnet, Vermont. Larger Shambhala Mandala. Many entities are considered part of the larger Shambhala Mandala inspired by Chögyam Trungpa, although they may not be legally part of the Shambhala International Organization. Shambhala Training. Naropa University, an accredited, private liberal arts university founded in 1974 by Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Shambhala Institute for Authentic Leadership. Nalanda Translation Committee. Neden School of Higher Learning. Kalapa Ikebana, a school of Japanese flower arranging founded by Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Mixang photography based on the Dharma art teachings of Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Meiti Space Awareness, Meiti 5 Wisdom Energies Practice. Konchok Foundations supporting communities in Tibet. Shambhala Art. Chögyam Trungpa, the 12th Trungpa Tulkus, along with the other Tulkus and leaders of Semang, asked Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche to assume stewardship of Semang Monastery and its people. Sakyong Mipham has also been asked to assume responsibility for Huayan Monastery, the Gezar Orphanage, and the Mipham Institute in Garlic, and Kamput Monastery in Kham. Related publications. Shambhala International has inspired responses. A number of publications, and others exist in some degree of relationship to the larger Shambhala International. Shambhala Buddhism Mandala. Shambhala Media, distributor of published works and recordings of Shambhala. Shambhala Publications was founded and is published by Acharya Samuel Burchholz, a senior teacher in the Shambhala Buddhist lineage, but has no legal relationship to Shambhala International. Buddhadharma, the Practitioner's Quarterly Journal of Buddhist Practice, published by the Shambhala Sun Foundation. Lion's Roar, Buddhist, inspired by a monthly magazine of Buddhism, meditation, culture, and life, published by the Shambhala Sun Foundation. The Shambhala Times, online community magazine.